Hi guys, this is the Idaho Picker. Sorry for the video problem. Sorry it's taken me so long to get these videos up. I'm trying to do the best I can to get it to you before the Super Bowl tonight. I'm going to do another 15-minute segment here. We're going to move quickly. Okay. In my previous video, I covered a lot of things that I'd recommend you to go back and look at part 1 of this Super Bowl warning. I would encourage you to start there and come back to here. Okay. Now, I finished up discussing this before we left, so I'm going to move on to the next thing here and move into a little bit of history about the 49ers. The 49ers, they, just like the Ravens, took and decided to tie themselves to something that history may have told us is okay and good, but in fact, the 49ers, the name comes from 1849 when gold was found in San Francisco, at the foot of the mountains in San Francisco. There was gold as big as your fist laying around on the ground there. It was quite the find, and well, the gentleman that actually found it, the word ended up getting out, imagine that, and they came in and robbed him blind and everybody else in town. It was a disaster, and it was a bad time in history. They will not like to tell you that or portray it that way, but San Francisco and the majority of California was built on the backs of greed and murder. Now here also it says February 3rd, 2013, which February 3rd is going to become a very important date as well, because that's the day that the music stopped and in history, and I'll get into a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But on February 3rd, the 49ers will play in New Orleans against the Ravens. The coaches, however you say it, Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh, they're brothers, pitting brother against brother for the first time in history. And they admit here, of course, that the 49ers comes from the name given from the gold prospectors. Makes them sound like they were nice people, but actually they ravaged in the area and the people that were there. It was a bad time in history, as I've said. Now, brother against brother is interesting because it ties back to the Civil War, is where that term was coined, brother against brother. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, let's take a look and see who is playing and some of what is going on in and at the Super Bowl. Okay. Of course, Beyonce, as you can see in the highlighted area there, is going to be there along with Madonna, the Black Eyed Peas, The Who, Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band, Tom Petty, the Heartbreakers, Prince, Rolling Stones, Paul McCartney, and U2. Can you get a better Illuminati list? However, I will say that I had hoped and thought that Prince was not part of that, because he owns his own production company, he does his own music, he does everything himself, and I thought he did that to stay away from them, but yet I guess they offered enough money for him to come here to this as well. Now, looking at a few other things that are actually happening at the Super Bowl, these are some events that are on the Super Bowl website that are taking place, and going on is a year and some change. The Insanity of Mary Gillard, The Dream in One Act, Let There Be Lemures, meaning let there be light. This is all satanic things. Look at the images on the left. I mean, does that look like pleasant stuff? I mean, it's not. It's all, like, read this to you, the devil is not as black as he is painted. I mean, what the hell? Now, talking about Beyonce, as my friend Dabu7 likes to talk about sometimes, she is married to Jay-Z, and they are in control of the music industry when it comes particularly to the R&B and the rap part of the music industry. And thinking about her being here, and if there was a false flag attack and this place blew up, whatever happened, blew up, sank, was attacked by a nuclear thing, I don't know, okay? But if I were her and I was planning on pretending I was going to die, what I would do is I would do a swan song. Luckily, she just did one. It's called I Was Here. It's her swan song. Here's another recent song that that Beyonce recorded. End of Time. Telegraphing anything there, Beyonce? Not everybody's blind, lady. Now, here's another interesting thing. Of course, Beyonce's rejoined her two sisters and with Destiny's Child, and they are going to be playing at the Super Bowl a song called Nuclear. Okay? Well, that sounds innocent enough. Destiny's Child playing a song Nuclear. Well, let's take a look at the lyrics. This is a love song. You had your dreams and I had mine. Eyes wide open, meaning better be paying attention. Okay? And we dreamed together, and I never thought how we could keep our shit together. She's not talking about two people, she's talking about the Illuminati and how they've been able to keep their shit together and keep so many fooled for so long. Wondering, is this love or illusion? Meaning, is this real? Are we really pulling this off, or is it an illusion? Okay? We're just getting better. When the two become one on a quantum level, it's nuclear. Referring to the binding of two nuclear atoms, or the combining of them, the smashing of them, which creates the nuclear explosion. We're two here. There's nowhere's left to run. Why run? Why would you run? Well, you won't run because you well, the ones listening to this video know better than be anywhere close to friggin' Louisiana right now, I hope. And if you're watching this in Louisiana, get the hell out of New Orleans. Just in case. Okay? Now let's go ahead and look at the second page here of the lyrics. Now, what are they gonna tell us? Well, they're going all the way. AA. That means yes, yes. That's a French type thing to say, or they say that in Louisiana. Okay? Going all the way, going all the way. We're confirming it. We're going all the way. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next set of lyrics here. And they're also referring to the two. We're two here quite a bit. Makes me wonder if maybe if they were to choose the nuclear option and blame it on either North Korea or Iran, would they go ahead and do two nuclear weapons? One there and maybe one in Las Vegas, or one in San Francisco, or maybe Baltimore. Who knows? These people are crazy. But let's go ahead, going all the way. Anytime the climate changes between us, we share a bond that they can't restrict. They can't be touched. That can't be touched. So amazing power. Don't look at this as a story. Look at it as individual messages. So amazing superpower. Take over. Never lose the energy. It's nuclear. We're two here. There's nowhere left to run. And at the bottom again, of course, finishing the song off, letting everybody know it looks to be their intention to go all the way. Now we're going to go back to something y'all guys have seen me talk about before in depth, and a lot of y'all guys helped me do a lot of research. As I've always said, this is a team effort. And looking at this map, I've spoken previously on my channel about Strike Zone 5 being the Twin Towers location, Strike Zone 2 being Hurricane Sandy, the Frankenstorm, which I covered on my previous channel, Idaho Picker, which is still technically up. I just can't do anything. They've got me locked out. Okay? But we're focusing on Strike Zone 3. Of course, Strike Zone 1 at the bottom, Sandy Hook, which it says right there, was in this map was used in the Batman movie, which was released in Aurora, Colorado, in which there was a mass murder that was telegraphed in that movie, as well as saying that Sandy Hook was next. Okay, but going back to Strike Zone 3. Now, if we take a closer look at Strike Zone 3, what you'll notice is, see the little arrows I've got superimposed in there at the top pointing out street names like Wayne and Minoson and Estep and Kingston and so on. Well, all those street names exist in New Orleans. Now, if you look on the other side, on the left hand side of the screen, you will see, just on the left of the word strike zone, you will see grouper, flounder, mackerel, minnow, cod, sailfish, marlin, right? There's only certain places in the world that you can catch that entire list of fish. Guess where you can catch them? In the Gulf of Mexico, Louisiana. What I'm doing here is confirming and showing you that there is a link between this location and New Orleans. And here's some more links. You see right there under the word zone, under the letter E, right below that turn sideways, it says China Docks. Okay? And China Docks, that actually exists down there as well in New Orleans. There's an area that is specifically close, that is very close to a dock area that is considered to be the Chinatown area of New Orleans. It's where all the China restaurants are at. About 9/10 of them exist in one particular location down there, in which I'll show you here. But before I do that, I want to point out one other thing real quick, and that is on this map it says right down here below Strike Zone 3 it says China Basin as well. Okay. Now moving on to the next slide, however, I'll show you the area that I think represents the Strike Zone 3 area, or at least is telegraphing or matching up on the map to say we're in the right ballpark. Okay? And once I started looking at this area, strangely I noticed that there's a World Trade Center, New Orleans, there. Did you know there was a World Trade Center in New Orleans? I didn't. There's also the ferries. See the arrow pointing to the word ferry? There's also the ferries that run up and down through this area, just like they do in the Batman movie. Okay? My confusion initially with Strike Zone 3 is I was thinking that was Brooklyn, New York, because everything was kind of pointing there. Strangely, now it comes back and it looks like that is actually, as you see by the arrow indicated on the right, that it's actually indicating this location, which is indicating, of course, New Orleans in general and the Superdome, as we know that is going on there. Now, if you take a look here, you'll see that a couple of arrows are pointing, one to the China Dock thing that I pointed out, and another one pointing to the words Gay Street. Gay Street. Why would there be, why is there reference to Gay Street in this area? Well, one thing I've actually found out is the word Gay Street is actually considered in New Orleans to be Bourbon Street, in the Bourbon Street area, the French Quarter, right? And the reason that is because if you run a search and look for gay bar in New Orleans, you will find out that it's Bourbon Street. All of the gay bars are right around the French Quarter and the Bourbon Street area. Once again, another confirming thing saying that Strike Zone 3 is in fact that location. Now let's take a look at some more stuff here. A look at the World Trade Center area. However, we're going to have to do that in part 3. I hope to have all these parts up before the Super Bowl happens. Okay, I'm doing my best, guys. Hang in there with me. Make sure to join me for part 3. Make sure you've seen part 1. All this should come together by the end and make sense to you as to what's going on. Thank you for joining me on Logic Before Authority.